Well, we can get started.
Yeah, what's more of that stuff? Have you heard from Tom or Gavin?
No.
My mother-in-law is, she's in the hospital for 4 days. And she got out. She's back in. So Penny's talking about going back down.
Where's that?
It's south of Venice. She's 93, so she's lived in
Venice.
Venice, Florida.
Okay.
Northport.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a snowbird. Lives in St. Albans.
Gotcha.
Well, your brother's doing a nice job, Dave. He's doing the place on the pond. Is he doing the place on the? Is he building the place on the? South.
Tracy's on Pond Road. Just finished that.
No, there's a place going up on the pond though. Is he doing? He's not.
I think I saw his sign.
I
big
emailed
tree or
these to
big-
the ones that
what
got
is it?
email. I didn't feel
He's
I had
big
to
tree,
mail them.
I think it's there. Yeah, I think.
Didn't
Right on
think
the
I'd
pond.
waste the stamp. I figured you
Yeah.
could see it tonight.
God willing.
Got
of
two
course.
big. Maybe
So is
not
it-
him, but here's a big sign.
Could be. Wouldn't be the first time I.
Yeah.
The
Hey,
one
Gavin?
the one they tore down. And
Yeah.
Where's that?
It was Desjardins. It's over. Well, the other opposite side as us.
Yeah, it's on the southeast side. Yeah.
No, maybe he is. I haven't heard
Yeah.
anything about it.
Yeah, I was out driving the other day. I saw a sign and I'd seen it on the water.
So what's it called now? Huh, I'll be dang. But the brook runs out of Bakersfield?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I emailed you guys this
Yeah.
stuff, but Gavin and Tom, they still do Pony Express mail.
Certain things you don't need to know.
Where is the brook?
I just forwarded you guys what I got.
Hey, Mo.
Hello, hello.
I move we approve the minutes.
Meeting here, everybody here. Close it on.
Colin, not coming?
We got enough. We're good to go.
We have a big sugar maker look at it, Peter.
Yeah, we're going once.
Well, which in qualification.
Picking up this week. I think it's gonna be a.
Somebody make a second on that motion to accept the minutes?
Sure.
Is there any questions about it? Any discussion?
We do have somebody here on Zoom. I'm Marlena, be with you in a minute.
Do we need to do our reorganizational formalities just to get them out of the way?
Yeah, we could do this first and just have it done with. Well, somewhere, right. I made a motion to accept the minutes except for number 3 on that thing. We're gonna discuss that later. So, why not, and the official ones, why don't we change that? I think it was number 3 on the previous minutes of the meeting.
About the community center?
No, it was about the changing of the wording in the town report, under articles. I don't know what number it was, I can't recall the number of it.
It's changing fund balancing.
Yeah.
That's at the very end. It's at the end.
Implementation,
We're
Maybe I missed
supposed,
it on
we're
the-
supposed to talk about it.
add change in fund balance handling to next agenda.
Okay. So, is there any more discussion? We wanna accept these?
Yep.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? That's done. Well,
We have a visitor via Zoom, but unfortunately we can't connect her otherwise, so we're just gonna hold her up and she can talk.
is it, well, we were gonna reorganize first.
Yep.
Oh, are you? Okay,
Okay.
go for it.
Formalities,
Yep, so, someone make a motion, do you, for officers?
motion to leave them as is.
Yeah, I'll second that.
If that's how you wanna do this, so be Tommy as chairman, myself as vice chairman, you as clerk.
That's official now.
Yeah, yeah, what's the other one?
That's all.
That's it?
That's all it is.
So is everyone in favor of leading succession as is?
Sounds good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Okay, that's done.
Did we ever make you official?
No.
No.
We just
so-
did.
Just did,
We
unfortunately.
just did now,
But you
yes.
can't, you have to make it as a separate motion because it wasn't as is
Okay.
was Jean.
Yep.
So you have to.
Well, I'll make the motion, we make him our clerk, board clerk.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Leaving.
We're not recognizing you at this time. Okay.
Okay. So, joining us is Marlena Valenta, and she's here from Northwest Regional Planning. Talk loud.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm sorry for the format. This is obviously not ideal. I have a meeting right after this too. So I'm here kind of on two kind of different purposes. First, I just want to introduce myself. I'm the new energy and climate planner for the Northwest Regional Planning Commission. So I am here to help the towns, support the towns. So if you have anything that comes up that is related to climate or energy, please feel free to reach out. I really love to offer support. And kind of on that same note, I'm putting together a project for the region that's window dressers. And I don't know if you've heard of this before, but it's a nonprofit that is based out of Maine. It works for England. And they help create affordable window inserts, insulated window inserts. For people, they give away free inserts to low-income families. And they work on this sort of community build style. So people sign up, volunteers, local volunteers, go and measure people's windows, and then 1 week in November we all gather, build the inserts together. So they're very effective. They save about a gallon of heating fuel per square foot of window cover. And the window inserts are on average $44. They pay for themselves less than 2 years, especially with fuel prices recently. That number is probably a lot quicker. So yeah, it's just a program I wanted to be on your radar to let you know, residents can really benefit from this. It's equally beneficial to, home buyers and renters because they pay for themselves so quickly. Renters can really, take up their homes and save them. So, I have this is a little window for what it looks like. They are, these are just like that they are right now. And it's a pine frame and durable. It's like in durable plastic on both sides. So I can send you some info in an email. You're able to distribute that. And yeah, so I just wanted to put it on your radar and I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Well, thank you for informing us about this. Is there anything else?
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Marlena.
God willing.
If no one else is here, we don't need to keep this open, right?
I think so.
Never heard anybody refer to pine as durable.
It's inside, it's inside.
Okay.
That's the part you gotta. Do you guys have some of these?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we've done the minutes. I guess Mo, you're up.
Don't have too much to report.
No, I'm around the corner. Tom, sit here.
I'm good right here.
Alright. A pile for you though.
So Mo, what do you got? Anything?
No, just trying to stay ahead of mud holes now, this week's done.
Yeah,
Some of the holes up.
so, the new truck, is that all ordered, everything's set in stone, I mean, paperwork, everything's signed and ready to roll?
I signed and sent the document that would secure that. I haven't heard from them, but I have sent it.
You're saying to call tomorrow. See.
Yeah, we just wanna make sure we don't get
Mhm.
Didn't get one.
slide here, slide there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We don't stay on top of it, so no major breakdowns,
No,
How's your sand and salt holding up?
hold up, good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's unusual.
No. I know we use more salt this year than I have, but just with the weather.
How much sand is on it?
I think,
Yeah.
I think we should, make a motion
Just instead of the
to
piece.
lower the
No,
amount of
that's you.
salt
You
used
sign
so
there
that we
and
don't
then the
embarrass the
other
state of
one,
Vermont when
Your
we're
local
36.
official, your local official.
When our town roads are in better shape than 36s, I'd say the state needs to get a message and need to put some salt on that road.
I'll tell you what, our roads were better than every town I went through on Saturday.
Yeah.
And driving sucked in a major way, but in Fairfield,
But we need to,
I did good.
we need somehow to
Thank
make,
you.
send a message to that District 8 out here. They need to put salt on this road.
You know,
I mean, there's times it was harder to drive 36 than it was any road in town.
every single.
Every time, and it's
I
not the
was on-
driver's fault, they won't
No.
let them put salt
Right.
in.
Every time I was on 36, it was
But there must be a
worse
way
than
we
any
can-
roads.
I don't know who we need to inform, but make a complaint of the condition of Route 36 as a town of Fairfield. When people can't, when tractor trailer trucks are getting stuck going up Salmons Hill, yeah, that gives you a pretty good idea what's going on.
Mhm.
So I guess I'd ask is who do we contact, that guy in St. Albans? That,
Jim-
the new guy?
He's not there now, I don't know who is the head down there, Morris might know.
Jim Coder, he's still out there.
Oh,
But they got a
just-
different guy running the trucks.
Yeah, running, yeah.
He's the guy telling them not to put the salt down, keep it for the interstate.
Oh, yeah, that's what going
Now,
on
that's
there.
what's been going on, been alleged, that's what I was told by one of their employees. So I think we need to get hold of them and just say, we got complaints from people in town, what the hell's going on? If you guys aren't salting at least St. Albans Hill, or excuse me, Fairfield Hill, that's what the road sign says down the bottom. So, but I believe if we don't speak up about it, no one's gonna pay much attention.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. Send a letter and say, hey.
Hey, we wanna know what's going on, cause we're getting complaints about the condition of 36 running through all of Fairfield.
Is it a letter or just a phone call? Well, we'd like to send a letter. then
I'd like to
we'll have
send a
copy.
letter, then we got some proof that we were made a complaint about this thing, see if it does get addressed in any manner. That's just my recommendation on it.
I would do a letter, and then like you say, you'll have proof or backup to it.
Just asking for an explanation. It's-
Right, what's your rationale of salting this road?
And that way we get a letter or an email back that we all can read instead of, one of us. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean.
You want it on an email or on paper?
Email's fine. It's-
I'd like something documented on this.
Right,
so we
right,
don't get
but
this-
an email, we can.
And I guess I'd say we want a response, cause we've got enough complaints
That's
around
why an email.
people in town that are really complaining about this. This
No.
isn't just my take on this thing or Tom's, it's,
No, an email just saying, hey, what's going on?
yeah.
You know, got a lot of complaints about.
Do you have any
36
answer you
condition.
can go to?
I was gonna say Jim Cody, but I don't actually know if there's somebody else.
Well, you know, if we don't make some waves,
Jim Coder,
nothing's gonna change.
Jim
I mean,
Coder, one of the.
I mean, he's,
District
you
8
said
folks.
he's just
Yeah.
still, but he's just out of Essex, so I would send it to him.
To Jim Coda.
Yeah,
Okay.
the care of Jim Gold.
I have his email.
I'll do it from the select board email.
So do you have anything else, Mo, that's,
No, I don't.
Do you wanna talk, I never know which of us is gonna talk about, the Chester A. Arthur Road, we're gonna resubmit the paving grant for that road, and you said that you were thinking about a structure, what we were gonna do for the structures grant?
Yeah, the one by Virginia's, next one up from Rob and Danny's. Yeah, that one there.
is that the one, did you work on that one last year somewhere? No, it was
No.
Robert Brandon's old place last year, right?
Right, yeah, and we've got a grant with better back roads on that one.
Yeah.
I think, I forgot when they improved them in June or something. We'll find out they approve it or not. That's a 4-footer there. Gonna be a 5-footer. We'll replace it. Been working with Bethany, yeah, been working with Bethany on that.
This
Last
is,
fall.
the one by Brandon's old farm?
Yeah, RJ,
Yeah.
RJ's and Lucy's.
Yeah. And the next one is the one right by Virginia's house, that
Yeah.
deep one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll take a little work, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of dirt moved on that road.
Well, the one they approved, right, is the one by the barn?
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
looked at?
Yeah, yeah.
So that one is at this time approved
The one down,
by Robbie and Danny's?
Yeah,
That's North Road you're talking
yes,
about? So,
this is,
we have a grant award for $225,000. And Randy Reed, so we did, I just secured the hydraulic study and forwarded it to make sure that we have our stream alteration permit in place. So there are a couple things that need to get done on that one. One is, I need to know from you all if you would like to put in a less expensive culvert, which would meet the requirements of the grant and the hydraulic study. I actually have, this is a bunch of stuff, but the piece, like 3 pages in, it says kind of Fairfield North Road Culver cost.
There's the Tom. So 3 pages in,
So 3 pages into
The
the
memo?
packet, this is the one right here for you.
Sorry.
So. So our original, grant application had a concrete a precast, sorry, let me grab my thing here.
you got some options.
So we originally,
No, I didn't.
so we originally had a cost estimate of a $75,000 concrete box culvert in there. And now a box culvert is up to $141,850 or $168,895. And our actual grant award is only $225,000, and that's including all of the other expenses that go onto this. So the less expensive proposal here is the poly-coated culvert down at the bottom there. And I just wanted to make sure that before we do anything, you will approve us using that one instead of the concrete, the box culvert.
I don't know, I have no knowledge of, how does it, quality-wise, is the poly, is that weather or age as well as a concrete option, or is that option a reasonable option, or?
Well, they can squash, right, Tom?
Yeah, well, this is already pre-squashed,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna be a squash thing, I mean,
But it's a poly squashed?
well,
Poly-coated.
So it's a steel,
poly-coated, it's
poly
just,
coating on it.
yeah, it's just a coated steel culvert.
Yeah.
I mean, the lifespan of a culvert versus concrete is probably,
50 years.
you know, that might be 10 or 15, where a box culvert would be
And a culvert, you're still talking $90,000.
25, 30. Huh?
Still $90,000 by the time you put wing walls on
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, go the first or the second one. Cause when you figure all your costs in, you're not a hell of a lot of difference. What kind of base is down there?
Talking ledge. They were down there, Randy figured around ledge, yeah.
At Robbie and Danny's?
Yeah.
So
There's
three-sided
ledge.
wood and wood work there? A concrete three-sided wood?
Well, I think you'd want a 4, I mean,
Right, you need
I don't
a-
know what the 3 side, what, nothing on the bottom must be?
Well, no, you put a footing on it,
Well, yeah.
but, I mean, you're on ledge, right?
Yeah.
But may not be all the way.
Maybe
Yeah.
partway ledge, and then you'd have to,
So Chris Brunel, from the state approved any of the 3, either a concrete box, he also said a pipe arch. Whatever we put in there just doesn't, it can't have, it has to have a closed bottom, that was the requirement. And we don't have an Army Corps permit yet.
Wait, say that again.
This
whatever
says
needed
that
a bottom.
any
So
structure
option
that
2
fits
isn't,
the site
right, isn't
condition.
realistic then. You'd still have to concrete the base of it.
Yeah, that should be just as much as the other one.
Yeah, well, kind of like
It says any structure, actually, sorry, it says any structure with closed bottom should have a bed retention sill and buried in.
alright, so they want a natural stream bottom no matter what you put in. So you oversize your culvert, sink it 6 inches, you
Yeah.
oversize your box, sink it a foot. So either of these are fine, the arch wouldn't need to be sunk because it would, you'd leave stone in the bottom.
Yeah.
But he knows what is there, and he said, you know, you're not gonna blast out a foot of cement or ledge to get down to, you know, he said the water's flowing now, the day we were there.
Right.
You know, what you find, you're not gonna know until you dig it up.
Right.
And then you go with what you got. Or make do with what you got there. You know,
So on top of these costs, you gotta put in a diversion road on top
Or you
of
close
this.
the road.
Huh?
Or you close the road,
Make them go down by Tommy Parody's, make a loop.
with the exception of heavy trucks.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cause that's, I mean, that would add crazy expense if we had to put in
Oh,
a
yeah.
temporary.
300,000 plus by the time you brought fill in,
Yeah.
make
Oh,
road
yeah,
there.
especially there, yeah, that would be expensive.
So the only, other piece of information that I understand is that with the Army Corps permit, we don't have it yet, but we wouldn't necessarily have to ask, but it's less likely that we would need one. So therefore, our timing would be a little bit sooner to get everything out to bid if we don't go with something that requires a crane.
It's
And,
impossible.
yeah,
Right, the depth of that, yeah.
is it? Okay.
Cause you have to dig so much more out to step anything down for a big excavator or anything to make a base
Do
move.
we get any idea of the construction costs on top of this?
Yes.
Do you have an estimate?
The grant was written for $225,000.
Yeah.
So that's inclusive of, our match. That's the project, the total project was $225,000. So, that includes pavement, guardrails, so $75,000 for pavement and guardrails, $50,000 for utility relocation and other miscellaneous, and contractor materials. So,
Does that include structures?
so the structure is a separate line. So it's contractor materials is 75,000, pavement guardrails is 50,000. So that's inclusive of the work and the structures.
So that's 125 for the work.
And then, utility relocation and other miscellaneous was 25,000. And then we have a 75,000 box culvert in there, but box culverts increased in cost. So that's not
sounds
gonna be
like-
possible. So if we go with something other than the poly culvert, we're gonna exceed the project cost, but that's up to you too.
But they might change their, you know.
Due to the
their grant
cost increase
process.
of the concrete box culverts.
Right.
I wonder if they would
So
up the grant.
you have the contractors bid it both ways. We don't make the decision until we get the bids.
Yeah,
Bid it with a poly 10-inch and bid it with can. Would be my suggestion. You see what the actual prices are, 'cause estimates.
Oh, I'm very much in support of that. I don't think we should pick a pick a solution until we know who's gonna do it and let them.
It's not gonna change any of the permits, it's not gonna change any of the requirements. It's one more sheet on the drawing of, here's strip the lay of a culvert, here's strip the lay of a cross-section of a box.
Cause that thing, I mean, they put a plate or two on top of it already, right? Parts
Yeah,
out.
the upper,
Yeah.
inlet, yeah.
And the other end's starting to fail too on that thing.
Is this by the Morgan Farm, by North Road?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rom Danny's down
I put
Right.
pictures on the back
Right,
of
the
this.
one where.
Where the cows cross all the time.
Right where the sugar house is,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's deep,
Okay.
it's deep. I mean, for me, I wouldn't even fool around with a culvert, I would put in a box culvert. For the longevity. Once you got it dug up, you got more lifespan left with, even though it's a little more money, you've got more lifespan with a concrete culvert than you do a steel culvert. And that's down deep, there's gonna be a lot of pressure, I mean,
A lot of weight on that thing.
My only reason for saying let's bid both is, let's see how crazy it is, cause I'm betting the crane to set that box is gonna be as much as the project itself. I don't think that estimate is nearly,
Yeah, it doesn't include the work of putting it in.
those are just pieces, so you know, DeRocher could come down and set those.
yeah, but he's gonna bring this big crane and he's gonna charge up the wazoo.
He's a nice guy.
Will they raise the grant?
It's within, I'm not sure, at this point, we do have basically everything that we need, and I doubt that at this point they'll raise
So we
it.
got
Who do you
to cover the
require
cost.
to find
That
out
would
they
be
would
Jim
raise?
Cody,
Coda.
I mean, we're nuts not to ask.
Right.
we can ask, I can ask.
Who's kind of putting everything together? Is Randy Reed actively involved?
Yeah.
He is, okay.
So would you like me to go ahead and connect with Jim and then bring that back to you to make a decision at that point?
Yeah, is that slated for this year?
It is
Mhm.
this summer.
Same time as that Jeweler one?
I don't know when it's, Jeweler one even going, or when it's going, or, I know it's going, but I don't know when.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna do it, I guess we better get on the stick then, if this is hopefully going through the summer to get this stuff. I'll be surprised if we get somebody lined up to do it this summer, but maybe we'll.
Yeah,
This is-
if the grant doesn't cover the extra, that'd be a great ARA fund, you know, put in a better culvert if it's a
I
little bit
mean, I
more.
would, you know, talk to Randy and see if he knows enough to put it out to bid right now.
Yeah.
And then if we don't get the money, we'll,
Have him draw the bid documents up, get stuff ready for our next meeting, regardless of whether we get it increased or not.
Right, we gotta
We
figure
move
out
forward.
whether there's any ways it's gonna get done this year anyway, if there's anyone gonna bid on it. Yeah,
I think, you know, even local guys, you know, anybody you have is gonna have to step it
yes, that's what I
to
was.
dig down.
So
Nobody's gonna have an excavator that
Right.
will dig down that, I mean, you see those extended booms, and that ain't gonna be in long enough, I don't
No.
believe.
So I'm hearing, put out, have Randy pull up, put together the bid docs for the next meeting that includes, a bid with both culverts included as,
Yeah.
as
At this point,
options.
it's easier to ask for two bids. Has anybody looked into an easement for them?
So the next thing is to talk about easements and, we need somebody to,
No,
To
I wanna
have
deal with
them
this
sign-
project, get that one done
to
first.
sign, the permit, what's it called? The stream alteration permit.
Okay,
and-
stop.
So those are the two bids.
Finish North Road. Has
That
it-
is North
That,
Road. The stream
Okay.
alteration permit needs to be signed by the landowners. And I don't see an easement on file at this point, so I can contact the lawyer about that as well.
Okay, so nobody's contacted and moved forward about that?
I haven't
Okay.
contacted.
No, that's fine, let's figure it out now
Yeah.
and move it.
So is that both Robbie and Danny? That brook
It's a
separates
split,
the
it's a
place or
brook.
something?
Brooklyn and the fence line, somebody's in there.
I would think about all Danny's.
No. How the surety? I'll stop by and talk to him.
Might be
I mean,
easier.
we stopped there, they're all in favor of getting it done.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So we all set on that item?
I think
Yeah, right
we
now.
have the documents ready and I'll find out who owns what and who needs to sign it.
And stuff, and I'll send you, yeah, we'll connect to it, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And then the only other thing was that, were you able to go to that TAC meeting this week?
No,
No? Okay,
I talked to Bethany,
okay,
I talked to her that night.
okay. So they're focusing on bridges, but I don't know the update on that yet. So that's the Transportation Advisory Committee. Originally.
Is that Parity Bridge pretty high on that list now?
That's what I gotta find out from her, supposed to be, but I don't know how far they
Right.
go. And the Cheshire Arthur Bridge
Another one?
is on that, what they talked about the other night on the meeting. I don't know, she said their April meeting, TAC meeting, when they're gonna make the recommendation, they send it to the state from the TAC meeting, and the state goes from there.
So that's one. We
It's
need to
just
be
your-
at, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the Cheshire Arthur one, we worked on it last year,
Do you guys take photos and all that stuff that was?
I think the boys did. Cause I know one time, we talked about it, and the majority of them was there, knew it's a site problem there,
Yeah.
and the width of the bridge. So,
It's kind of the main artery in town.
yeah, and traffic over it.
Especially when they do this bridge down here, it'll shake it to death.
Yeah, well,
That'll be the end of it.
That's what, 23, right, next year?
And
That-
then
next
the
year
bridge
down
by
there?
the store that.
gonna resurface it, right? Or
New deck.
redo that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
strip it.
I don't know if you wanna talk about Jumeirah Road at this point? We can-
Might as well, we're in transportation. Keep it
Wrong
going.
roads.
So I confirmed with FEMA that we need to reach out with and request an estimate from at least 3 contractors, for the, construction engineer person who's kind of supervising the project to make sure that everybody's in compliance. And that will allow us to adhere to the FEMA standards, but we don't have to put it out to a sealed bid because, in our purchasing policy, it says that engineers at this level are exempt from that process. So they also said that if we reach out to 3 people and we only get 2 or 1 estimate, that's okay. We just have to document that we've reached out to them. I did connect with Randy about this and he is interested. And I just was wondering if you had anybody else that you wanted me to reach out to.
Any suggestions?
We just need a clerical workers, right, so we gotta keep track of the project.
Yeah.
This is for Jeweler.
Will that suffice to meet the grant and all this?
It will, yes.
I have no problem with Randy doing it.
No,
Certainly.
but they want.
They do want
us to-
3, they want 3, they wanna see that we reached out to 3
So-
engineers.
Are you talking like Ruggiano's bunch for that too?
No,
No, but I mean,
No, they
reach
can't.
out, but
they can't.
they can't.
But another like cross.
Cross
Cross.
or,
Just
TH
Stefan.
or-
Somebody just took over crosses, right?
right, Stefan,
Peter Garso finally took over.
So was,
Stefan Tetros probably qualified to give a bid too, right? He's in there.
Yeah,
I would, it's local,
Yeah.
I'd do those two for the
TDH.
third.
Who was it?
TDH.
do they have to be PEs or do they just have to be,
Do they have, I'm sorry,
do they have to be a professional engineer licensed in the state of Vermont or?
they should be, yeah, absolutely, yeah. They have
Is
to
Randy
be qualified.
licensed?
Yes. I'm assuming he is, he's been working for
Don't
the
make
state and
assumptions.
such like that, yeah.
After you see that red stamp.
Well,
he stamped stuff before, isn't he, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that culvert down South Road and stuff. So I guess try those and see what we get.
so
Yeah.
Crossing, you said
TDH.
TDH.
Don't call TDH, they're not
Don't call it.
engineers.
Oh, so that's Stefan.
Huh?
That's Stefan.
Right, he's a wastewater designer, but he's not a licensed engineer,
Okay.
if that's what we gotta have. Call the other one, the office in St. Albans,
Who did the,
not Trudell.
sidewalk?
Yeah, Trudell Engineering.
Trudeau. contract with St. Ange, I sent it to Tyler, I've connected with FEMA, all of the bid documents have gone to them, and we're awaiting, word back from them about the final project numbers that they're willing to contribute to the project. They needed to have the bid in front of them before they could arrange that, so as soon as I know, I will let you know. And you're working on easements with me.
Normally, the other Calandroni or whatever, they emailed back today. Sounds like they're fine with it.
Okay, so I can go to the lawyer and have him
Yeah,
finalize some documents and get them to sign.
they hadn't seen the correct one with their names on it apparently. I missed an email. They've been gone in and out, so
Okay.
it was no big deal. But I would go to the lawyer, start things, and if there's a change, I'll let you know.
Okay, sounds good.
Is there any more on that?
Nothing else around the roads that I have today.
Mo, was there anything else you wanted to discuss before
No.
you hit the road?
No, I got a road issue.
Well,
On New Street, on the curve, people are parking in the road.
mm-hmm.
Oh, you heard about it too?
Oh, I've driven by it.
And so they wanna know what you're gonna do about it.
I guess we should send a letter to that homeowner. You cannot park your vehicle in town right away.
Do we have no parking signs there?
We can put some up. We put a bunch up for Linda before, road signs. But they got a green pickup and they park. They put a fence up
For Linda, who did you put up signs?
before.
Weston.
Oh, guess who has asked for this?
Well, I can see where there's gonna be an accident sometime.
Yeah,
Cause the guy, it's Tommy, Messier's old house. And they got a little a little Ranger pickup. And they put a board fence up and they try to park. And probably 2 feet of the truck is in the road, maybe 3 sometimes. So if somebody comes around that corner, and you're coming this way, there's nowhere for that one to go.
So you can put up no parking signs, or we can just send whoever the offender is.
I would send them a letter first and say,
Do we know the name of the person?
I don't know their name.
this said it was, Cruz.
Cruz? Do we have any more than that?
Well, I mean, it's a rental. So
who's
it
the
can go to-
homeowner?
I
If
think
it,
they
if,
own- I
if
think
it
they
is
own that
Cruz,
house.
it's Lori Cruz is the owner.
Yeah.
I can get you her information. Are you gonna send a letter?
I will.
Okay.
Cause the carpenter
Re-
lives on the corner and it's a
remind
nice
me
house down
tomorrow.
back towards the.
It's not the one right on the corner.
No,
The church is
no, the next one down with Tommy Macy used to live.
towards,
Towards,
east-
yeah, towards
Westland.
Lynn's Market. It's the next one on the right. They got like little yard and there's 4 or 5 cars in there. And then this one's been parking. Cause the other day I came down through there, was heading up, milk truck was coming around. Not much room here, so I stopped, I went through.
You want her?
But I could
email
see
if
how
you
they
want
could easily have an
email her.
accident, somebody coming
Tell her
around.
what you're doing.
I don't
It's
know,
Dawn, yeah.
Melissa,
Linda's daughter.
are you gonna send it?
Linda's daughter.
I would send it registered mail too. So we have receipt that they got it. They can't say they didn't get it.
Well,
Well, it'll go to the, whoever
Yes. It'll go to the landlord.
to the landlord,
Yeah,
it's
but I'm
the
just saying.
landlord's job to,
Right, but isn't that one of her kids or something? living there?
I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Like, that's what I was told.
I
don't
think
know.
it's a kid, yes.
Is there a concern about the fence being in the right of way?
Cause that road's only 2-rod road. So you're talking 16 and a half feet from the center of the road. So it's one of those, you know, there's,
Yeah,
There's
no,
not-
if
Just
it's
send her a
close,
copy
I'm
of
not
the
gonna
letter.
Yeah.
raise a stink if it was a 3-rod road. we
Right.
can Talk about
So
it.
she knows.
yeah.
The fact that it's in the road, doesn't, you're in the roadway, nothing says about the right of way, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Email her back and say-
So are we all done with highway stuff at
Yeah.
this point?
Yeah.
Mo, you, nothing else?
No.
Okay, well, I guess we'll move on then. What's the next one? Oh, yeah, I guess Linda, you're up.
If you like, huh?
Better change your truck.
I'm assuming the, tree wardens are all you guys here,
Are you missing one?
Mostly Dave.
I'm also.
but
I got it.
need to put it in the minutes who the tree warden.
Yeah, yes, before the board has accepted responsibility as tree wardens.
Yeah, just for
No big deal.
Huh?
Speaking of trees, The tree limb down by, Callan's, the north road, did that ever get nipped off?
Tree limb down North Road,
James Callan's, out that way.
whole tree.
No, it was a big limb over the road, wasn't it? And that was a problem with some of the trucks.
There's a limb over the road down there somewhere. I had a grain truck driver complaining.
It's my house. It's my tree that they keep hitting.
So is your tree in the right away?
It is, so cut it down.
Oh, well, we're trying to keep a green belt around St. Roch, so we've got to be very cautious about
We
this.
can just cut the limb off.
Yeah, we could just, we could arborist the limb,
Go ahead. While you're at it, cut the.
but I
rest
thought it
off.
was something about down by James is
Yeah.
what they
Yeah,
were
we
talking
cut that
about.
whole tree down.
Last limb
That was right by
to the
Mrs.
ledges.
Berry's.
Legend.
Oh, okay, so
There
that one's
was a
gone.
dead, there was a dead limb hanging out
Yeah.
over and they cut
Berry.
the whole tree down.
Yeah.
But
So
they're-
now it's
they
that
hit
way.
mine.
There used to
They-
be a
yeah.
scrag
What, the
little
booming
maple
trucks?
that
They,
limb
they
stuck
get,
out.
The whole
it
tree
gets
off.
hit all
It
the
is.
time.
Okay.
They haven't broken off yet?
When you get to the point, just.
Fortunately, no.
Lately?
But maybe he was talking about limbs, so I'll have to find out. So good
Yeah.
job. I thought you would cut it down.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got that last
No,
fall.
mine
That's
is.
why I thought that we
Yeah,
took care of
That's
that.
why when that threw me off.
Oh, especially when they're hauling in the fall, oh my God, that gets hit constantly. Everyone that goes through it
Just
hits
cut
it.
it off, the limb off,
Mhm.
take care of that problem for now.
Okay,
Okay, sorry. Go. Leave before.
yeah, get out of here
Yeah.
before somebody else gets out
So
here.
do you wanna,
Good night.
Mulligan, you're up.
No.
tree wardens, you're gonna make the whole,
So we all
Make it
still wanna
official.
do it the way you have done previously, the select board's your tree board and so forth.
Wish I could vote for something.
Yeah, I'd leave if I were you more.
Good night, guys. Night.
That's how we handled it before.
Yeah.
We gotta complain about it, saves a lot of grief. So is everybody in favor of that?
Yep.
If everyone's still in favor of it? Anybody opposed?
Unless Ron wants to take it on himself.
It's okay.
Okay, if you don't,
It's not too much of an issue.
no. You don't get a special badge or any other compliments.
okay, I'll let them know. So we have vacancies for lister and auditor. There was one person that there was 3 write-in votes for lister. However, you need a minimum of 1% of your checklist, which is 15 in our case. I was asked why a person with 3 votes doesn't get the position, and I told them the statute. I said that if that person is interested, they just need to contact the select board. They need to appoint someone till the next town meeting, and I don't know, did you get anything from on the select board's email? I did tell them the
Was the
procedure.
person interested in the,
It was the wife that had emailed me regarding wanting to know why 3 votes didn't get the job. The person has not come forward any way that I know, so you kinda need to, I mean, if the person's interested, shouldn't they come forward and make it known?
maybe they're bashful.
Well, they gotta get over it.
Well,
So,
why don't we do what we've done some of these other positions, put it in that front page forum, let it be known that the position's open, we're seeking someone
it's,
to.
yeah, they were, I think beforehand, there was out there for candidates.
Well, let's
but-
try it now, obviously this one person must have some interest of some nature for one of the
Yeah.
positions.
Exactly. So anyway, so
So what is it, Lister?
lister and auditor
Who was the person that didn't run again?
for
The auditor.
Judy.
Judy Magnet. And so, yeah, so there's that. And now we have another liquor license. And so, gentlemen, last time you all wanted to approve it, but some of you wrote over here. So the approve is on this side. The not approved is on that side. So keep it to the left if you're approving it. And this is for Fairfield Market.
The auditor that night, kind of came up a couple times, but I don't think he's interested, you know.
I mean, people write in people, you know, so we don't know.
Not as, challenging as what he does.
Yeah.
He probably has enough of that during the day that,
Yeah,
I told him it wasn't a very hard job. High paid and everything.
definitely not.
could give meaning to his life or something.
Community
Get
service.
back to the community.
No, there was, as in always, you know, remember town meeting when everybody that wasn't there got nominated for dog catcher?
Yeah.
And then, you know, they thought, well, we'll have Roger Street do it, and we all know how that turned out.
There's
No,
nobody's emailed to
but next
say-
time we make sure they're qualified shots.
One of the applicants is not signed, is that applicant still wish to be on
It's electronically signed. Do you see it right there, electronically, and then at the bottom?
Yep, I do.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yep, nope, I just wanna make sure all parties were notified that they were being. involved.
Apparently, she doesn't live in the state anymore.
I don't
I
know the
did put
story.
it on Facebook, didn't I?
Yeah.
I think I put it on Facebook, but
I saw it.
I don't think anybody responded, and nobody emailed me, and I think I put the email address and I got no email.
Yeah.
I just checked it. Not that I check it very often. You guys are free to do that anytime you want.
Get right on that.
I thought you might. Tell me what pile to sign?
Okay, so you got anything else, Linda?
No, I think that's it.
Well, Kathy, you're up it.
And also, sorry, remember the last time a woman wanted a tree cut and it didn't happen? What happened? Good night.
I don't remember
See you
that.
tomorrow.
I don't either.
You hope.
That's,
See you, Linda.
So, one of the things that I wanna bring up right away is that there was an issue with, Jonathan's final stipend. It was included in payroll at a lower rate, so it was automatically,
Oh, yeah.
in there at the wrong amount. So I was hoping, and all of those are signed, but I'd like to give him a check of the balance of what we're not paying him in the payroll. So we paid him $1,292.24, and it should have been $3,125. And I'd like to find a motion from the select board to, pay Jonathan the balance of the amount that he's due at this point.
what's the, his next quarterly?
He said that his final quarterly stipend was up. I looked and it seems to be.
We're supposed to approve those first.
Okay.
Yep. We're gonna go through them and check the hours and.
This is amazing.
You're saying that slid through last time?
That's birthday.
What was that?
Just
That slid through last payroll?
birthday cupcakes.
No, it's this payroll. It's this payroll. But it's not the full amount. The full amount was not entered correctly in our computer for some reason. Would you like me to connect with him and request his presence at our next select board meeting?
So what do you say the amount should be?
It's supposed to be $3,125, so there's $1,832.76 outstanding from his contracted work.
It's in here for $1,584.
Right. Oh, I thought that it was in there for $1,292. Okay, I have to double check.
So I guess
That's,
our
okay.
discussion is, do we need it for the fourth quarter, or how do we?
Well, that was something we had up in the air.
I'm not saying I'm not opposed to
Right.
continuing, but.
It was kind of based on need, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, how would you answer that, Kathy? Would you think we should?
I'm not sure exactly how many hours you had anticipated him doing. I find it helpful when I have a question. Usually at this point, I have maybe 2 or 3 a week. He checks in almost every morning, and for the most part, the questions are about grants, and I found Jim Coda to be really helpful, and others who have experience at Eater amazing. So in turn, he's the easy ask for some of this stuff, but I find that I can find the answers if I don't, if I have the questions at this point.
But day-to-day operation stuff or
Day-to-day.
quarterly stuff that comes in that you haven't had before. I mean, I'm sure some stuff's once a year stuff.
Yeah, so bidding is all new to me. I mean, the whole Jouer Road thing was all new to me, but I think I've been handling it. They're literally since maybe November, early November, I've been only contacting.
Cause the yearly
them for
The yearly thing we were gonna do was from what? When you started, or was it before that we did that? I'm not, can't recall the actual
I'd have
dates.
to look back and see what the dates are, but the point was, we weren't gonna pay him a flat year.
Right,
We didn't know if we were gonna get Kathy who needs some help, or if we were gonna get somebody who needed a lot of hand holding, or if we had somebody who could
Right.
walk in and do the job. So
Right,
I
so-
guess,
it was based on quarters, I thought. And
Yeah,
kind of
that's
at
what-
a certain point, if there wasn't a necessity, appreciate all you've done for us, and we've tried to pay you accordingly and fairly to that point.
no, I think we have.
Yeah.
And my line of thought is the same as what you just. Can you operate without him? You've got another quarterly that's gonna come up.
Yeah, I've been operating, I mean, really, I've been operating without him except for maybe 2 or 3 questions a week, which he's my easy ask, but I could get the answers from anybody else because they're not about the daily operations of the town. In general, they're about specific projects that I can find the answers to if I.
So here's just my thought, so
Yeah.
I think we're all in support of whatever we own, we wanna pay him,
Mhm.
first thought. Second thought is, what do we have budgeted for him for 2022 in the budget? that we
His
just-
final stipend of $3,125 was in there. In the
I think we built it in, so we made sure we had the option to have him for a year.
So there's, I'm confused, so.
It's basically if we felt at that point we needed him for the
So
next
when we're
quarter,
going from this,
so whenever that money ran out, basically.
Right.
how much money is left in the budgeted money that we have?
So I apparently did 2 things wrong. One is I didn't check with you about the final stipend. Jonathan connected with me and I followed suit. And when that happened, I didn't pay him the full amount that he's due according to the $3,125 arrangement if you decided to go that route for this prime. So we still have what I was going to do was ask for the outstanding balance to be able to pay him tomorrow, the rest of what was in that arrangement. But we could, instead, you could ask him to come in and talk to him.
No, we don't, so
Or something like that.
So we wanna pay him whatever expenses we've incurred thus, to date. And if we did that, is that the totality of the funds that we have budgeted for the 2022?
Yes. So
Okay.
he set up lump sum upfront. So
Okay,
this 3125 would buy us another quarter.
okay.
And we had paid him extra during time periods when he had extra hours in. So when there was times he was really doing a lot, helping get payroll squared, all those kinds of things, he got extra on top of the $3,100 some odd dollars. So,
Yeah, I guess my only thought is we wanna pay him what we own, but we also wanna make sure,
That we have done.
yeah, and if there's support that only he can answer, go to everyone else you can, but we want this to be successful, so if we need to reevaluate or,
but I think what you're telling us at this point, pretty much you can handle.
I
Am
can
I,
handle
so
it.
that,
Yeah, absolutely. And
Right,
I'm
so-
confident in the work that I'm doing and
and you figure you
there
got
are
enough
times
other
when Amanda-
resources you
yeah,
can
absolutely.
check
Sometimes
on
Amanda knows
to get the
things,
answers.
you know, I mean, it's really,
good.
yeah.
So it's a case of, do you wanna spend another 3,100 and some, am I correct on this? Or we say, Jonathan, we're squared up to this point in time, our arrangement was, you would keep doing this until we didn't need your help. That's the way I recall it, but I'm not saying 100% right on that.
So I can say though, I'm intimidated by the whole bidding process that we have to go through. But I understand that Randy Reed has done bids, and I have some drafts. I mean, I've looked at the South Road bidding process, and I think North Road is gonna be very similar. So I'm educating myself right now. He would be the person that I would, he would be my go-to if I had something like that I needed a question answered for. And I have to say, that's a little daunting, so. but I think I can.
The
He's an
word, I
expert
think,
in
I
this.
think one of the words, like, it is a process, so there's probably, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I bet there's a flow chart that you would have to, you just follow, you make sure all the squares are, you know,
Exactly.
check the boxes, and it sounds like you're that, I mean, that's kind of your methodology, so.
But could you hire him like on an hourly basis, you know, rather than a flat fee, just as, I mean, as needed for, but, I mean, telephone, most of the time it's just a telephone call, so just a.
Right, it's not like before when he was coming in every Monday, different times during the week. Physically, he hasn't been here in a bit, right?
Yeah, well, he came in, but I don't know, yeah, he wasn't really, came in at one point, but I don't know.
Yeah, cause he, I mean, he really helped us out in a tough time.
Yeah.
I wanna be square with him, but if we don't need the service anymore, that's what, I mean, if you guys, are if you're comfortable enough, keep running this thing. I'm open to suggestions on this myself. Do we need him another quarter, I guess is what I'm suggesting.
When's the next quarterly taxes and all your quarterly reports due?
The end of next month, is it, yeah, the end of next month.
Or
I would probably push to keep him.
to keep him.
Just, I think it's good to have, I don't like wearing welcomes out, so the more you can lean on him, the more.
I have no objections because he really helped us through a tough time.
Yeah, no, I could go either way, but
Yeah,
I mean, you know, that's what I said, rather than, you know,
Maybe we
flat,
wanna ask
maybe he would be
Jonathan.
doing just
that
for.
may be something you wanna do.
I think it would be worth a conversation with them. I do think that, like I said, you know, the whole year, of course, every year, everywhere has its own
Thank you.
ebb and flow. And the new stuff coming up is not like the new things that I was doing when I first started. And I feel like I can do them, but again, it's nice to be able to have him there if I have a question about the grants
Yeah.
specifically.
Maybe we should ask Jonathan to come to the next meeting and see if he want to do something on an hourly basis, rather than be committed all the way through. Just throwing it out there, I don't know how you guys feel about
I would think at some point you'd just be in a relationship, say, you know, you could call them up at no cost
it. Right.
and just keep a good relationship between the two of you, but.
Any time a phone call costs you money, so, I mean, you know, even though he's probably on a paid job, it's
Yeah.
just,
I think I've
his
heard.
advice is, I wouldn't mind trying to get him to do it on a hourly basis or phone, you know,
Yeah,
just
I'm
because
talking,
he's.
I'm talking about 6 months down the road.
Down the
Yeah.
line.
right.
Yeah.
But I think that's what the last 3 months
Yeah.
of our yearly would kind of get us.
I mean,
Yeah.
these bids, we don't wanna, you know, we wanna make sure we have all the i's dotted, t's crossed, and so.
Yeah, we wanna be successful, and, you know, when, it seemed like, you know, there was town meeting, then there was the audit, then there was, you know, like the budget, and then there was a lot going on. And I, you know, like we talk about bids, we get something crosswise to try to save a little money on having you a mentor. I think that we don't wanna be there. We don't wanna be, you know, these are big,
Big projects.
yeah, we don't wanna mess up on some of these bids, you know, we got some big projects. And if, you know, if it's an hourly rate, or if it's half the, you know, take the monthly stipend, or the quarterly stipend, cut it in half and say,
Just to say, like that, you know, we'll have him come in next meeting, and go in the
Sure.
second session, hash it out with him. Better to talk to him in person.
That check that's already cut, will that suffice for part of what we owe him, or is this for future?
No,
This is future.
he did everything lump sum upfront.
Yeah,
So starting whatever the end of that quarter is, we pay him the 31.25 going forward.
so it's an advance payment, or,
Yes, we pay him before he provides service.
so what we should do is not cut any check right now then, and ask him to come to the next meeting? Is that what you're saying? I'm just questioning this, I'm not pro or con one way or the other.
I'm not really sure how to pull it back from the account. It's been an ACH transfer to the bank at this point.
well, maybe look, we cut the check, we have him come to the next meeting, we say,
Yeah.
hey, what's the next 6 months? What's, you know, from this point to like when you started, what's the, you know, help us look forward on the calendar and.
But just you saying you don't know how to pull that back
Yeah, from the.
is
from
one
the
more
bank.
thing just to learn.
Well, that would be
Not-
something like, I'd have to connect with Sue and the bank tomorrow to make sure that I know what we can do. it's a ball rolling right now, because the transfer's been made through their computer, through the fax process and all of our computers.
Let's cut the check.
Yeah.
Let's bring him the next meeting, and let's look forward to the next 6 months and say,
We
You know.
just come- He can come, we go into executive session.
And in preparation for that, I'd like you to think about what questions are you asking him, what do you need, what do you see coming up that,
Okay.
yeah, any kind of training, you know, that you see as like a deficiency or somewhere that you wanna get, you know, maybe there's a half-day course on the bid process.
but,
Yeah.
but think of who you call 5 times a week
Yeah.
and say, am I gonna wear out my welcome if I get rid of Jonathan and I call him 10 times a week?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just kind of think of how that all
Do you
works.
have any like town clerk mentors, or like people that, my mother-in-law did it for like 25 years, I mean,
I
she,
don't know any town clerk mentors, I mean, you know, Linda.
I'm
just-
sorry, town administrator.
So, I worked for the municipality of Essex as their recording secretary for 3 years, so, yeah, there are some folks over there that I can.
Cause maybe we could expand that list a little bit, so you're spreading the questions around that, make it a little less painful for,
Mhm.
but no, it's been quite a learning curve, and we all want it to, you know, continue with the progression that you've made, yeah,
I'll lose things in the,
yeah.
Okay, so next meeting, you ask Jonathan if he can attend.
Sure, and so we'll hold on to the last, the piece that I didn't
Yep.
pay until we talk.
yeah, and we'll just make the amendment later.
So there is a library issue, the last, so last year's budget status report went to the library, went to me, went to you, and it did the rounds, and we looked at it and analyzed it so much, and for whatever reason, last February, when the insurance, the property insurance was paid for the entire municipality, it was paid for the municipality, but it didn't come out of, their portion of it didn't come out of their budget. So, that means that there is a $3,780 surplus from last year's budget that was supposed to go to the insurance for last year.
What was the insurance number?
So it would be $3,780.
Good, Judy.
That was their portion. Yeah, it's, if you look at this,
So, right,
Yeah, I know.
so we're $3,700 short, or we're $37 heavy?
there was a carryover of $3,780
For the library.
that was supposed to go toward the library operating property expenses.
Mhm.
So my question for you is,
So
would
we
you
sign
like
this, or
me
No.
to
Should
carry
you put
that
a,
over?
like a week or 2 week notice and?
Yeah, we can, sorry.
That's okay.
we'll get to
So
that.
would you like me to carry that over into this year's carryover line of their budget and then just charge the last year's operating expense to that? Or is it a wash at this point? How would you like me to?
So what you're saying, so it's simplified, out of their budget, it owes $3,700 to the town of Fairfield.
Yeah.
I mean, just make it
Right.
simple.
Yes. So I just wanna make sure, before I
And so if
expend.
they had any surplus, it was because they didn't pay their fair share of the insurance.
So there is, that was part of it, they also had an ARPA grant that was part of their surplus, and after those two things are accounted for, their surplus altogether would be $535.40.
500? So the 30,
So they would've had a deficit budget if they paid their insurance
They
share?
would, they have a carryover of $535.
After taking into account insurance.
After
and
taking
the
into
grant.
account, if we paid that money, and they also have some earmarked money, for their ARPA grant.
So A, how did this come up?
So this, actually, the librarian pointed it out to me.
Okay,
She
So,
went through everything
B,
again.
for accounting purposes, for keeping it clean,
Mhm.
charge it to them, and it is what it is, it's not malicious, or just keeping the books clean,
It was an
making sure.
oversight.
It was an
Yeah.
oversight.
It's not a,
No, that's what I wouldn't, we get enough of our own budget, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an oversight that should be paid, should be rectified somewhere.
Mhm.
Somehow.
Are you able to charge it back to their last year's account, or is that closed?
So
Is it-
because that budget, all of the accounting for last year, it's been audited, it's done. What I would do is I would carry over, into their surplus operating funds, the amount that, because it's in there, we just have to account for it in the operating funds, the amount that we would charge them in the expenses of their insurance. So it'll look like, at the end of the day, it'll look like they double paid for their insurance this year. But it's not gonna change their operating expenses because we have the money, they have the money, it's already, it's available.
So year-end stuff, the surplus that they had, that they were gonna put into a capital reserve, needs to go towards that, is what you're saying.
A portion of it, yeah, the amount, so there's an amount of $3,457, which is an ARPA grant, and that goes into their grant account. But then we have this other piece so really, between the ARPA grant and this, they really only have $535 to put into, if they choose to put into their new account. That's the,
I mean, it'd be better to go back, put on last year's books, but if that's closed, that's the way you do it. And the library understands what's going on.
they do, we've had a
Can
long
you-
conversation about that.
Can
So
you note, is there a way to add notes to those numbers in there, so you can
I can, in our computer,
Just- make some sort of a note, so you and the auditors and us in the library
yes.
No,
They're
mine
all on the
looks like-
same page with this thing, and
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. And the other part of that is that I proactively looked to see how much because we just paid our property insurance, so I asked them to separate out the amount that the library would owe, and it's less than last year. It's $2,243, so that premium for this year going forward will be paid out of that line as well. The community center pavilion we talked about last week with the community center and Northwest Regional Planning. So Northwest Regional Planning is really doing most of the coordination of all of this. And they're providing all of the administrative services, so I don't have to. It was written into the grant and it's covered by the grant, so, we do have an MOU for their administrative services that we need to sign tonight. And I was wondering if you had any questions about that. It was, yeah, so that's, basically they've been pulling together all the parties, getting all of the bid documents, making sure that, the permitting was correct, doing extensions, all of that paperwork, has been happening through the Northwest Regional Planning Commission. So I do have this contract for us to sign. Do you have any questions about that? Also, yeah, I think the other thing is, I wanted to find out from you, the draft documents for their bids, they talked about last week that they're under our purchasing policy, so that means that they have to be sealed bids, they have to come to us, and you have to open them publicly. That's as per our policy. And the bid documents will be ready, by the 28th of this month. And I was wondering how much you wanna look at them before they go out. Is that
It's
something
the
that
community
you're,
center's baby.
yeah, that's why I look at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we're helping them out by administering what we can and.
Yeah.
No,
So
as
the
long as-
fee for this contract, who's paying for that?
that comes right out of the grant that's coming up,
So there's $9,000
it's reimbursed through the grant. And the grant is a fully reimbursable grant, so the entire amount, it's basically a wash, there's no percentage that we have to pay toward it or anything. The other question I had Oh, no, that's it for now. I wanted to mention to you that with the audit that's happening with our, I'm sorry, through HUD, we are putting together, I'm trying to make sure that I have all of the certificates of insurance for last year. We don't have them all at this point, so I asked for an extension, and I've been doing some exporting of information that needs to happen, so I haven't actually done anything with their, the community centers required policy stuff that we were gonna talk about at this meeting. So the policies that we don't have on the books yet for the community centers grant, we were gonna discuss at this meeting. I don't have those at this point, but I can bring them to the next meeting.
Can we sign that without having that discussion, or, I mean, that we were, or is, am I got that right?
Yeah, that's fine. It's really about,
No, but can we sign that without having? The-
yes, the thing that we can't sign is the grant,
I
the
see,
actual grant. So this is not null and void unless the grant is in hand.
okay.
So
So
we
we
need,
don't-
need a motion on this probably, right? This
Didn't
is
we
the
make one for
contract
last
between, us and the Northwest Regional, for them to administrator, be the administrator of that grant.
Everybody in agreement of having
Are
them do
we
that?
still responsible for that cost, even if we didn't get the grant for some reason?
The grant is in hand. The only reason we wouldn't get the grant is if we don't provide the policies that.
Yeah.
No, but what he asked is, if the grant didn't come through, or for some reason they didn't give it in the end, would the town be on the board, holding the money for the cost of that?
Yeah, just like if we were to default with any grants that are admitted are really, this is a pass-through from the municipality of Fairfield. So it is, I am getting the invoices and forwarding them over to the, to Northwest Regional Planning Commission to drop into our account. So it really is all through our purchasing process. We are the, as far as I understand, last year this was written with that in mind.
I think Ron's just, he doesn't wanna get us, take an obligation, I mean, by signing that, are we obligated to?
Pay for the pavilion no matter what, whether
Right.
the grant goes through, the grant doesn't come through, would we
But
be
Yeah, I
on
think that is basically saying, what that is saying is Northwest Regional is going to
administer?
administer, so I don't think that puts us on.
Yeah, we're really in a good place with them. They're on top of everything.
I'm not afraid of working with them.
So is everybody in favor of signing this?
Sure.
Then let's,
Everybody signs
no
this?
one's opposed.
Everybody signs this?
I think that it's just us and.
Yeah, but I meant all
Yeah.
5 select board members.
I don't think so, I think it's just you.
Acceptable.
So delicious. Salted caramel.
Or I mean,
That's it.
if you give me, making the motion for me to sign it, I can do that. So, cemetery mowing. For about over 10 years, Winding Roads Landscaping has mowed our cemeteries and taken care of the front of this building. Dale Hunt from Swamp Road has submitted a bid for this summer's lawn care of the cemeteries and this building. And I'm just gonna, so I don't think everybody knows about our cemeteries. We have 8 small cemeteries on Swamp, the Episcopal Cemetery by the school, Barlow by St. Patrick's Church, St. Roch Cemetery and Pond Road, Pumpkin Village Cemetery, and Laurie Cemetery, and Leach Cemetery. And then there's one larger cemetery, which is Duffy Hill. So, long story short, Dale submitted a bid for
Don't
an
remember.
amount that is larger than what our contractor, who I also spoke to and was he's submitting a bid verbally, significantly larger. So
Whose is larger?
it's the Dale Hunt, the new bidder, is significantly larger. So I wanted to find out from you what we would want to do about that at this point.
So, first off, are we adding cemeteries?
The only one we had talked about adding, was, Egypt.
I think we had, I had notes that we were thinking about Egypt, Bradley, and Tiffany Road.
There's-
Well, I think we were talking about Egypt, and the others were kinda like question marks.
And they were supposed to come in, bring
Right.
information, which Bradley's never done. They can't seem to, I don't know, the person running it will accommodate them, I'm not sure what was on there.
Yeah.
But they're their own association, it's not like you can just walk in and take it over. The one, Egypt Cemetery came and approached us, brought us, Their
They
information.
told us where they're at.
yep. So-
Egypt and, or we'd already started the Duffy Hill one, right?
North Fairfield Cemetery, we've been mowing that for 2 years now.
Mhm.
That's where she came in.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I think we kind of agreed to do the, since they come in,
Right,
Bradley, unless they come in, I would.
unless they come in and approach us and somehow
Yep.
the
I just
people that
wanna
are
make sure
part,
we
Right.
don't forget what we were.
Did he bid, those other additional?
We did.
Yeah.
They both did, so I did contact, our Winding Rivers, and he is willing to do those other, if we decide that one.
well, the North Fairfield one, he's already been
He's
doing.
already doing that.
So the,
Well, the extra one would be Egypt, but it's
Egypt.
not really that, really big.
so.
First off, we decide if we're gonna put them out to bid or not.
Right, right, like in East Fairfield, the ball diamond, well, that one guy's done it for, how long's he been doing that?
10, maybe?
10, 12 years, never raised the price. So,
Yeah, and there were supposed to be a couple guys this year, but I don't know if they've done anything yet or not.
right,
I mean, I
we
would-
should get contact with King's,
Kings.
and see if they're going to continue to do it for that price before we make a decision on this, but in my
Well, I
mind, it's a
mean, the
no-brainer with
the
this other
ceme-
one. If it's
Cemeteries we could do.
Huh?
Cemeteries.
Sure, we could do that now,
Yeah.
but there's quite a difference in the prices.
There's a big difference between what we've always done, which is significantly less in cost,
Yeah.
and he's willing to keep that price tag low this year.
And how much was he gonna add to do, Egypt? Did he say?
Let's see, he was going to add,
Don't talk numbers, just in
Yeah.
case somebody else.
just his standard rate
Yeah.
for the amount of work that it seemed to be.
So, I guess one, do we have to wait and see if anybody else submits these things?
We haven't asked for them.
We haven't
Yeah,
asked
this
for them.
isn't, this isn't, this is just been he's just giving it.
So can we make a decision tonight? We haven't requested bids, but somebody submitted one. And say we want to stick with Winding Brook because of cost difference?
Well, do you wanna, for 2 weeks, it won't make that much difference.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be.
I would put that up for bid and, after she talks to King, I mean, I know, like I said, there was just that one, but I don't think he's gonna be able to, just, we'll put those two things out, if anybody's interested, and go from there. So we can't say, well, we're showing favoritism, or,
Yeah, that's, I mean, everything else we're doing carefully and
Yeah.
bidding, so.
Yeah.
It's a quick, simple, if you can put it out tomorrow, we're taking bids on these cemeteries.
Yeah.
The bids are gonna be open at our next meeting.
Right, because we haven't, as board members, we haven't looked at the numbers,
No,
so let's do it that way and see if, keep,
okay.
So take care, what else do we have
I'll
going
leave it
on?
tomorrow.
We have,
just
The
around
cemetery?
this and the Old Town Clerk's office and
and then East Fairfield's a separate bid.
the
yes.
park and
Yeah.
the green is a separate thing, has,
Just-
always has been,
So just put a bid out for those two things, we take care of our mowing for the summer, and we're done.
yeah.
What about the school over here?
That's part of the school's deal, because they use the ball diamond.
Gotcha.
And that's another thing we should be sometime, I don't know how they've been doing the last few years, but, cause they we charge to plow the schoolyard. Have you got anything on that yet? Well, you should ask Jimmy or Mo, because they're supposed to keep track of the number of times they do it, there's a set fee.
Last year, the school asked for it to be done more often. Jonathan took over that from me.
Yeah.
And he was gonna be doing that 2 or 3 times. They wanted it instead of just once at the end of the year. So I don't know if that's happened or not.
So I guess we're gonna have to look that one up somewhere.
Oh,
But that's, basically that money's been put into a separate fund for that small truck. That was how we were paying for that small truck.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, we just, that way there, we weren't trying to keep the truck way longer than we should. in the town, that truck does more work than it ever should have done. That's why we went to the bigger truck. I think it's a 550 they got now, because it puts salt on all these small streets and roads.
I will look into that, I didn't know that, thank you.
Yeah. You might check, because of the problems of last year, whether we ever paid for last year. Cause I don't know if we did or we didn't, but we had such a changeover going on, it could have easily gone through the cracks.
Yeah.
Alright, so I am interested in hearing your thoughts and revisions to the, facility use agreement that I gave you last week. The one that I gave to you had, information from the insurance company and also all of the information that you had requested, so it sounds like we have,
I got a super simple one too.
Okay.
So I threw together a draft, super simple, just basic. We're gonna let you use it. You're gonna make everybody sign a waiver. I think we should probably let them know what the suggestions were from the insurance company, but the important thing was making sure that people were covered over there. But for simplicity's sake, it's a small group. We need to get, it's been 6 months
Yeah.
since they've been using it, so we need some, just basic, you guys can use it. I only made a couple of copies, I don't know where the other one is, Gavin.
I can just pass this out.
Yeah. Just, it's an entity within the town, this one's closer, but I just want simple, be done with it, get sick of talking.
So I think the difference is that I outlined a lot of the insurance liability, suggestions, and, you know, each of the suggestions really will come with a large amount of work that it has to get done in order to make it work. So as soon as we start keeping records on every child who goes through a program for 18 years, for example, which was suggested, that's just a whole new ballgame.
But
I read that, yeah. You read it?
I'd rather,
my thought with the insurance stuff, let's just make a one-page quickie.
Get
Here,
something
this is what the
started.
insurance company suggests we start looking into, and, you know, start, as you adopt things and move forward, these are the things you gotta be,
Okay.
but we wanna know they have permission to be in there, they're not gonna change anything physically. We can tell them to get out, or ask them to, you know, Ron and his watershed group wanna use the meeting room for a night.
Mhm.
And other than that, that's just kind of the use, and then the insurance stuff we need to address, bring up, but not overwhelm everybody with it at this point.
Okay. So the next,
So, have you gentlemen all read this? Are you,
yeah.
is
I
there some
agree.
general agreement?
I
with this?
agree with the simple one.
it looks good
And
to me.
the only thing I would do maybe is just like the termination, just put a couple weeks, just to give
Yep,
everybody,
give everybody a couple of weeks to get stuff done.
give a notice of where it's, you know, right now you could go in tomorrow, today and tell them get up tonight, you know.
Yep,
Yeah.
Just to make it fair.
Yeah, and I would say, I think your thing is outstanding, thank you for your work, if you got a blank sheet and a pack of Dave's, and there's like bullets for the insurance,
Mhm.
you could have a signature on the front and say, insurance, you know, whatever you think is bullets for the insurance,
Mhm.
put it on the back as the information.
Okay.
Is that all right?
yeah.
So do you wanna go over this evening and get this thing done?
I wanna take it to the rec committee, just see if they have any,
So the next meeting,
Tomorrow.
we should bring this up and do a final signing on it,
Yeah.
so everybody's done with.
Yep.
And this way here, you have an opportunity to just let them see it.
I think it's on the back.
Sounds like a fair.
Is that all right, Kathy?
Yeah, that's good to me. And the meeting, the next rec meeting is, I believe, scheduled for tomorrow night.
Take
That's
that,
the same.
take it.
no, where's the one, which one are we talking about? The simple one,
Simple one.
the one I.
Oh, I thought you wanted to see what's on, I've seen
Oh,
that, no, I like
okay,
it.
yes.
Yeah, no,
So-
I've seen it.
Combine the insurance, here's some
Yeah, I mean,
insurance
put-
suggestions moving forward,
Mhm.
we need to move
Yeah,
more
put
towards
the, yeah,
this.
leave it just like that, but have the insurance
bullets on the
information
back.
on the back.
Yep.
If, you know, whatever you think is.
With a couple weeks notice.
Excuse me.
Let's see.
When you put the bullet points on the back, I just somehow write it so it's not a demand that, you know, it's like.
These
Yeah.
are
For
suggested.
your information.
Suggestions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'd
you-
like copy what the insurance company had, just
Okay,
we can work together on that. We'll
yeah,
get
I
that.
can send that to you, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you,
Or you can send,
I've got it. We'll
figure it out.
We'll cover it. We got 2 weeks. So next Monday about 3 o'clock, I'll call you.
So the Northwest Fiberworks wheel housing, remember we talked about that last week? I did connect with them and, they are in a place of, so they were supposed to connect with Mo, and I forgot to ask him tonight if they have at this point.
I had
But-
that marked too, and then he left, so.
Yeah, I should have asked them, but, they're in a pre-construction phase. Once they have a design for what is gonna be rolled out in this community, they'll give it to us and they're willing to come and talk to us about it. At this point, it seems to me, my impression is that they have their, you know, they have their, cart before the horse at this point, and they have things coming in, but they're kind of in lockstep about the plan with the stuff that's coming in. So I said to them that, you would like to know what a plan is before we start housing things. And they are happy to go in that direction. So as soon as I know more about what they're doing, I will definitely let you know. I don't know if you saw the most recent update that came out, but they did some PR around,
Yeah.
their silent partner is now public, which is Google. They're partnering with Google to fund the majority of the work of laying it out. And I can forward that press release to you if you'd like more information. The energy audit, I just have a question about when you would like to connect about that, if you wanna talk about it tonight or moving forward. I don't know if it had heard that we were thinking about using ARPA funds, I just don't wanna get behind on anything, so, what is your pleasure in terms of having a conversation about prioritizing that list from energy efficiency, the energy?
Well, were you gonna, last time we talked, you thought you were gonna try to get some rough numbers or get some, put it out to bid or?
So it was confusing to me whether you wanted me to do anything at this point, because I know that you wanted to discuss what were the priorities. That was the thing that I wanted to find out. Do you want to discuss priorities, or do you want me to have somebody give me prices? I just want to have more direction from you about what you want me to do.
Well, the only thing that's up in the air would be the common school. I mean, the town garage is set, the old town clerk's office is set.
Where are we at with the old town clerks? Do we have a bid to do windows?
We had that one bid from about a year ago.
Yeah, that was a discussion, I think, at the first meeting, or actually, that was the discussion at the meeting after my interview. I don't remember.
We talked to Crow Hill or somebody about doing some basic work on it.
Yeah, it was, Boone Burles. He gave us a quote.
I just see numbers for everything that was on the list, and we can just pick and choose.
Okay,
It's kinda hard to get numbers though, just for like the common school, if we wanna do something, there's a lot to be done, right? How do you put a number?
I'll tell you what, this is what, I think I'll take what she gave us and try to put a statement of work together
okay.
for the committee's review, so that we can hand it to you and say, get a quote on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I'll just, since Ron and I walked through it, and I think our priority would be the common school. And we could evaluate numbers, and then we could kinda maybe say, unless people feel differently, I mean,
well, that makes more sense, cause you can't just, I mean, it's out of your wheelhouse and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Do my best.
No, it's not good, bad, or indifferent, it's just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, like before, we've taken, like say Chester's, we took the money from the RAP, that's what paid for the roof, paid for the windows. We still overspent last year on that siding and window stuff. It's gonna take a few years to pay that down. You know, from the other one, we were lucky the guy that originally rented the old town clerk's office, he put a bundle of money in there.
I think the biggest thing is that, as Tom mentioned, the biggest thing is the school, you know, like,
I don't know
But,
if
I
you
mean, we've
noticed.
already sort of talked, I mean, all that.
Right,
post
we've
needs
already
crap.
kinda committed ourselves to doing something to the Old Town Clerk's office, she's still paying a lease on it. I don't know how much she
yeah,
uses
those
it.
windows are not good over there.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I would,
I
you
think
know,
we have
I
that
guess,
too.
I don't know who would, contact him again, see it, I'm sure it's got nothing else.
yeah,
Yeah.
cause we
If
talked about at least going in
anybody else,
front, you know,
but
the
if
front,
something-
it needs some updating on those uprights and the concrete needs to be refaced. Some of it partially. So,
Like the common school, I went in there the other day, there was a plumbing problem. And when you go upstairs in that big room, the door is a single panel door, and you can see between the cracks in the door.
that's historic value.
Yes, yes.
And that,
Did
you know, I
cut-
know
did you
That's
cut-
that fresh air for COVID.
I,
Yeah.
about the common school, I do know that, the Historical Society and the Rec Department are eager to find out how some of the spaces can be upgraded, the floors, and, they had been really thinking that they could just go ahead and do everything, and I
Well,
told them to
Dave's-
stop.
Dave's contract, or he goes to talk to him tomorrow night, or.
No, and they understand, I've talked to a couple of them there, and they get it, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just.
It's
We'll get
not,
there.
it's not an overnight
No.
thing.
Well, how about this, you know, as I read this, let me change. How about we get a quote that says, we go to quote and says, we want a detailed, bottoms-up thermal audit, number one, you know, for this bidder. And whatever is identified during the audit, have the same quote, solve the problems that are identified. You know, and cause
So you're talking about getting somebody who's a thermal efficiency
yeah,
person to come in.
we know it's there, but they have someone who says, okay, this is the problems, and this is the fix that I propose.
So just FYI, I'm having that same thing in my house right now. I had a virtual audit done by Efficiency Vermont last month, and the company most recommended is the Vermont Energy Co-op out of Colchester, and they have me booked for October.
Well, we heard that, and that's why I think we're gonna just go with,
They're not the only ones that do it.
They're the ones that are, the most reviewed and
Well,
have the best
with-
reviews,
Take a
and
look
they're
at
the
it,
ones
see if we
with
can
the
get it.
stars beside
yeah,
them.
do you feel comfortable with that?
So get a quote for the thermal.
Yeah, get a
audit.
thermal audit that identifies the problems, and then,
Energy efficient should be able to do that, right?
well, they,
That lady wasn't
They
qualified,
sub it
but they
out.
have people that do that. I mean, they've done a couple of houses that, yeah, they do that blower test and everything. They have people that do that.
They have a listing on their website of contractors who do it. They don't personally do it, but they give you a list of contractors that do it.
they say in this what they think they could add value to this enterprise. So the people they're working with, they identify that some, you know, some parts that they would bring to help solve the problem.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I can get a quote for the thermal audit.
and like Melinda's saying, on their, you know, efficiency Rose can help you say, hey, these are people we would recommend, but I don't think we have to necessarily limit ourselves to just that list.
Okay.
Well, there's on the website, on the Efficiency Vermont website, there's a list of approved
Right.
contractors.
All right, so the other thing that we were gonna talk about tonight is fund fund balance handling. That was sort of left over from last meeting, and, I did, hold on one second. Okay, and actually I have two, things. That one and, I wanted to talk to you about, computer upgrade and firewall things. So, I don't have the papers that I was going to use for the discussion. Oh, no, I do. So, I looked at what other municipalities were doing for fund balance, and what policies there are out there. And most of them are talk about, fund balance reporting and government fund type definitions. And they, basically the communities define what funds are being, what the fund balance is. Is it not spendable? Is it restricted? Is it committed? Is it assigned? Is it unassigned? What do we have usually when we carry over, and what do we wanna do with it? And that, I mean, basically it's a statement of purpose, this is what we see we have for funds. For example, the library's ARPA funds are, they're restricted, they can't be used for anything but what that was supposed to be used for, and it's carryover. So that can't go anywhere. And then there's committed, committed is what the formal action of voters do. So when a person, when we have something on, the town meeting that says that we wanna do something with our money, that's committed. And then there's assigned fund balance, which is what you would like to do, which is completely fine, to do, which is just say the select board wants to assign a percentage or all of a certain, any carryover to a certain place. And you can do that. It's, the only thing that's been missing is like a roadmap of what do we say we do and what do we do. And as soon as we have something like that, there's no question about, is it committed, is it restricted, is it assigned, is it unassigned, what is it that we're doing, and how do we do it? So, I think that the big reason I think it's something to discuss is because it's for consistency. You want to be able to say what you do and do what you say. And I think that you've done that forever, but just moving forward, if we had like a roadmap for that, it would be helpful.
Would be assigned, and we'll just go with, what we've been doing.
Simplest way to do it. That sand shed gets paid off this year, doesn't it? It's about a
It does.
$60,000 payment. Add 60,000 to your equipment fund. You bumped it up to 100. That would give you a definite 100,000 a year to start replacement. So you got something that's going along. If you're gonna need extra, you can ask for it.
Right,
That's
but
the way I
still,
would do it.
what do you do with the balance if you have a carryover?
Right, but what I'm saying, if you take that out, cause that ends.
Right, come budget time, right, that's 60 grand.
You don't raise, but I'm saying, we won't raise our budget, or be minimal to do this, and it stays consistent. Now you got 100,000 there instead of this 40, and you're hoping to put whatever you've got left over in to make up, cause you need at least 100 a year to service those loans.
Right, but what,
But that would keep that, like St. Albans did pretty much the same thing, and that vote they took, they put 200,000 a year into a fund, got it approved from now on, it's $200,000 a year going into that fund. You've
Right.
already got a fund established, you just need, as a budget, to decide the amount of money you want to put into that fund.
right, but we're worried about our surplus, correct? If we have
Yeah,
a
if you
surplus,
But if you-
whereas in years past, the board has said, we're moving it to the equipment fund.
Right, but you could do that, you can still put it, if you wanna keep it on the ballot the way it was this year, you can do that. But bump up your equipment fund enough to get by with, the truck fund, to know you gotta have, if you're gonna try to rotate those trucks every 7 years, 8 years, and you know you're gonna have to do sometime on that grader, or the backhoe will probably be the first thing you probably have to do something with. But you'd have enough in there to help do it, and then, if you find you're gonna shortfall, you put it, ask it. And we're just spending it on equipment, we're not,
Yeah.
it stays in that fund. And then if we do some major thing where we have to borrow again, which I don't see why we would, we got pretty much new infrastructure in all the buildings and stuff.
Right, but your concern about the fund balancing was more of what to do with the
Right, the way we
surplus, right?
chose to do it previously always worked.
Right,
And as far as I'm concerned, I've asked a couple other places, what we did worked. We weren't illegal, we went through all those,
Right, so
15
you're-
audits,
you're just saying,
but
why are
now,
we putting 2 more lines on the
right, you don't even have to do anything. One, you bump that, take that payment, bump that up to 100,000, so you know you got enough to do stuff with. And then if there's a surplus, you can ask voters. They may say, no, we wanna cut taxes.
So,
Okay.
so you're okay with it going to the voters? and
Go to the
saying-
voters with it, but bump your fund, your truck, your equipment
But
fund up enough to
find
be
a way-
realistic.
So if the voter for some reason says no,
Right, you
we
got
still
enough,
know we have.
you got enough in there to
100,000
operate
service.
with,
the way.
And I got a feeling you probably won't, the way things are going this year, you're not gonna have much fund balance forward with the budget that we got in the next few years, cause the way cost has gone on things. And this way here, you do it before the budget, you know you're gonna have enough to service what you got.
I have no problem with that. Are we interested, I mean, if, I would say one little suggestion, if you come with a kind of like concern, maybe you ought to have a sample policy or something that you're, well, maybe you could table that.
Well, I wanted to hear from you what you wanted to do.
Well, that's
before I
probably
bring any
smart too.
sample
That's
policies.
probably smart too,
So,
but,
Yeah.
but are you proposing, like, you know, those restricted, you know, I mean, are you proposing that we add to
So I was
our?
just proposing that we have something stated somewhere that says what we like to do as a municipality. And that would be a policy, but it would be a policy focused on either assigning fund balance in a specific way as a select board vote, or assigning, or, restricting money, that was used for operating expenses in one place to operating expenses in another. It's just a roadmap. I'm a little confused, so I just want it to be clear.
I think the simplest way is do the assigned, and then you don't have to, you're not restricted as to what you can do with it, and we've done it for
So,
X number of years, and it's been fine, so.
so
If you
we
have it
a
assigned,
budget.
we have control over where it goes.
We have a budget laid out, everything's laid where it's spent.
Mm.
At year end, surplus, deficit, whatever it is, we make a decision on how to handle it.
I mean, some years you're gonna chew up more salt than we
Right.
budgeted. Price goes up, you may be a deficit in that, but you may have something left over, we didn't blacktop enough that year, or one of those, like this year, I
And
suspect.
that's a decision that we as a board have to make, there's not
Right.
necessarily a roadmap that's.
But what I'm suggesting is, if you want, you need, just to make sure we have enough, is up your equipment fund
That's for next year.
for
Yeah.
next year, for
Yeah.
23's budget. This is just a suggestion.
Right, yeah,
That does that, then we know,
Right.
Right,
if
but you're talking if.
say you had
the line item for
30,000
salt-
left over, and you wanted something that's formal that says as a board, we're choosing to put it into unrestricted funds so we can pay off, say because one year we had to buy extra sand for the roads, that we could use that money to buy extra sand, for the roads. But after seeing St. Albans, because I believe that passed, I think we're better off. My estimation is, at least one suggestion I would put out, is up our equipment fund budget. So we aren't relying on, we might have a carryover of 45 or
Right,
70,000.
but that's moving forward.
Right.
Okay, I think we're here, I don't think this board is comfortable with using restricted funds. It's a good suggestion, but
Yeah, I
Let's-
think you're
let's-
overthinking.
let's table the discussion for next budget season and using, Gavin's looking at that salt shed saying, hey, here's gonna be some extra revenue that, with a little extra additional, will cover some contingencies.
Well, it keeps a consistency in your budget.
Right.
That's the part that's how we pay for all those buildings, because we just let funds build after something had done, used it, then had the down payment to start the next project.
I mean,
Well,
the way things are going right now, everything is gonna be under, we're gonna be under.
We're gonna be under budget on many things.
Fuel, blacktop, blacktop is associated with fuel prices, and fuel prices have doubled since, so, even for the trucks and all that stuff is.
Yeah, you're gonna have to look at that closely. We're gonna have to look at that closely towards later in the year for
Yeah.
sure.
I was gonna say, even now, we're quarterly, is it worth looking at numbers now?
Well, like I said, and not jokingly, but our roads are in better shape than 36. Wasn't because they didn't plow enough times, they didn't put enough salt down, So,
well, we could ask Mo that question as he comes in, in the future, how's it? So thank you for bringing it up. Thank you for looking
having the
forward.
Conversation. I appreciate it. And so, is there any other?
I get one, how did that, IRS kinda thing, was that resolved?
I sent everything, I tried contacting the person, multiple times, at least 6 times a week, just because it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And there was no call back, I haven't heard anything. All of the information they requested this summer I did send to them, so
They have
I
a
haven't
huge
heard
backlog,
anything.
so I don't know if they have a special,
I
okay,
mean,
okay.
they have what they need. We met the second deadline in terms of getting what they needed. I just don't know if meeting the second deadline will suffice, because we missed the first deadline. That's why we had all of those repercussions coming up. And I can't get an
Okay.
answer.
Yeah, okay.
You just tell them it's COVID related.
Yeah, you did, that's
You just tell them that, it's COVID related, we had no control over
We
this.
had no control over that part.
okay.
So I guess the only other question I had for you is, for the last few years, Matt, our, computer guy, Matt from, what's his last name? Bouchard from Sheldon. He's given us for 3 years some information about updating our network and our firewalls and our safety for the computer technology infrastructure. And the last time we sent it, it keeps going up, the cost, it's the same thing every year, but it keeps going up, and at this point, it's at $6,266 to do everything that he listed. And as we're talking about the ARPA funds, I thought it might be wise to bring this up again, that we do have his suggestions in writing. It is pretty extensive, and it will cover everything we would need moving forward. There's one recurring cost, everything else is a one-time only. The recurring cost is a Microsoft Defender Office plan, which would be $216 a year. But the rest of the amount that he forwarded to us is all one-time cost to install everything we need and make sure that everything's tight and we're not gonna be sabotaged by.
We'll never,
Yeah.
you'll never know that we'll never be sabotaged, but is there a number or?
It's $6,266 as of last October.
But that's for the entire upgrade or what?
Yeah, it's for firewall replacement, server backup, image backups, password requirements, network upgrades.
Don't we pay a
And
yearly fee to have this
public
information
access.
sent to Southern Vermont somewhere every night?
No, I don't, I
Supposed
don't
to be.
know.
It was supposed to be, I can't
Supposed to
tell
be
you
a
the name
backup
of it,
system.
'cause
So he's not saying that we don't have what we need, he's saying that what we need is getting a bit more and more frail based on the current realities of our country and our state and our our technology situations.
I guess I'd like to make sure that I was under the impression that we had paid for service, that so everything in these computers at night are backed up in the cloud.
I believe that's a Linda thing, cause it's
Yeah.
backing up all that.
It's backing up everything in the town clerk's part, is that right?
I assume it's grabbing this too, but I think Linda had brought that conversation to us
Okay.
last time.
So firewalls would protect us so that any information that is being, taking place here is not able to be accessed by anybody else through Wi-Fi. There are just lots of ways that the world can tap into what we have at this point that we didn't originally sign up for in the amount that.
What's our
according
annual
Matt.
contract to him typically? I mean, is it?
I don't think we have a contract with him, he just
No.
invoices as we go, he's
Oh.
very
I think
reasonable.
he's on a on-call basis as needed.
I think he's $50.
So supposedly you're gonna should have $3,100 more roughly in your budget under balances, right? Because of the deal with the library? You should have $3,100 more.
Yes, from
37.
last year,
37, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
37, so that'd be roughly half the cost of it, if you chose to do that.
Did we include some line items? Cause I know we had talked about upgrading a computer, we had talked about this during budget time, I don't know if it got cut.
We did increase some of our technology to address some of this. What I can do is go back at correct prices, see what we have for a technology budget, and bring back to you what it would look like if we used what our budget suggests we should use, and then if there's more, what we wish
I
to
would
do,
contact him to get
an updated.
Updated
Yeah.
cost,
the
yeah.
updated cost to
Is
March
this
instead of October.
ARPA eligible?
It is ARPA fundable.
And I would check into that. I agree with Gavin, I think there's somebody this stuff is sent to every night.
It's probably
It was,
just,
Amanda was the one that promoted that, and that's when we decided to do it.
I'm not sure what we.
Ask Linda about it, she should be
Okay.
Problem,
If
she should be knowledgeable about it.
If she doesn't,
Excuse me.
it'd be a phone call to Amanda.
Yeah. It's gotta be listed in there somewhere, cause it was a yearly cost.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was thinking $4,000 or $4,500 a year we were paying for that service.
You know, that'd be a question I'd like to ask the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. You know, usually there's a requirement, and then there's, you know, like a solution. And like with, you know, state or aerospace, there's a requirement, like certain level of firewalls, and I'm wondering, you know, if we have a certain obligation, I don't know what it would be for, but the league would, somebody at Vermont League of Cities and Towns would say, hey, you know, this is,
What is the obligation?
you know, what is the obligation, what's reasonable for us, what level of protection?
What's
'Cause-
the minimum, or,
Yeah,
yeah, what's the reasonable, what's the minimal, as a minimum, and are we meeting that? And if we're not, then we kinda are,
right,
and I have no idea what that would be.
okay. So I will connect with Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and I will connect with Matt to get an updated cost. I'll look at what we have in our budget, and I'll bring back to you what that would cover, and then what the balance.
Yeah, and we could even ask Matt, hey, Matt, we checked with the league, and this is our obligation, does your $6,000 quote include bringing us up to the requirement, you know, the minimum requirement that we are obligated to meet, you know, as a expectation?
but, you know, I mean, I agree with you, but, you know, the United States government's getting, you know, all these elections and all that stuff being hacked by.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, it is, everything is, my son has an insurance company, and they are hacking there's people that are probing, there's bots and stuff that are trying to penetrate this stuff and shut people down and so.
Are you and Linda on the same server?
Yes. Mhm. There are places that I can save things that she can't access.
Yeah, I understand that.
And that's it for me.
Do you have anything?
I do.
Thank you.
A few things, actually. We had a discussion about the Sheldon Woods Road dog issue.
A letter was issued, or
A
supposed
letter
to
was
be?
issued. The problem continues. The dog was aggressive with the property owner across the road recently. And the owner of the aggressive dog came out and told the property owner, you just have to not yell at him, you have to be sweet to him and he'll be fine. So the dog owner is not,
Addressing the issue.
at all, and is not he told the other guy that, you know, he breaks all of the things, and they had words, it was a little bit heated, but nothing's happening, and this person is getting quite frustrated and doesn't know what to do and is asking for help.
You said aggressive, right? And the owners or the two people were disputing.
Correct.
Aggressive, wasn't that the trigger for the state police?
No,
What was,
the state police is not aggressive dog, but animal cruelty. So if Tracy shoots the dog, then the state police will come in.
I see what we call
Or
state
if
I
police.
the
thought
guy,
it was- yeah.
no, it's animal cruelty that has become aggressive. No, animal cruelty is where the state comes in because the dog catcher isn't
I
trained
thought-
enough.
or a couple months ago, there,
I can read it for you again if you want to have it.
either way, like Brian said, I would send an email to the corporal that's in charge of the St. Albans barracks. Say, we have reported these two people fighting over a dog, the dog's aggressive.
Yeah, see what they say.
Yeah.
At least give it a
Their
shot.
suggestion the dog's being ill-treated.
I mean, I can definitely call them
Suggestions.
and ask them.
No, put it in writing, just to cover yourself and others.
Alright. And when they tell me they don't do it or they don't care, what would you like me to do?
Make sure you forward that to the.
Call Dustin Snyder, he's our game warden who I just saw in the pond and send him a separate one. Cause he was on the list, right? The game wardens and the state police. I think that when you read, am I mistaken? I think the game wardens were on the same list of the,
At what level does the problem become an issue that becomes like a,
When it bites a person.
there's a special?
No, I mean, basically, isn't it? When the dog
What-
finally bites somebody.
What Tracy's lawyer told him was, if there's blood, that's when he can shoot the dog. So if the dog comes and bites him or his wife, and there's blood, then he can shoot the dog. If he shoots the dog other than
Okay, let's
that,
not have this on.
yeah, this is, the-
But this is statute.
No,
I mean, this is the
this
interpretation.
is what the lawyer told us.
Yeah.
Complaints or reports of potential animal cruelty received by a town health officer should be referred to a humane officer such as a sheriff, deputy sheriff, constable, police officer, state's attorney, game warden, or state police. But this is complaints or reports of potential animal cruelty.
Well, this is potential. If we're,
Animal cruelty is not.
But isn't there one
Well-
for aggressive dogs?
No.
There's gotta be a statute somewhere for aggressive dogs.
My understanding is that state statute allows the select board to convene as a,
We're not set up that manner.
it is something that you can do.
This resident is asking for help. He doesn't know what to do. He thinks he's done everything and he doesn't know what to do.
Has he called the state police?
No, I don't believe so. I can ask him to. I can ask him right now, actually, if he has.
I don't, I'm out of my league here, but game warden, state police, I mean, what, does our town administrator have a recommendation? I mean, based on,
If all other avenues don't seem to be the appropriate avenue, the state statute gives the select board the ability, and we've never done this before, to convene a hearing. And a hearing, and there are specific things that you can do with aggressive dogs. But it sounds like it's not something that we've ever done before, and I don't know if the level of aggression would allow for that to take place in this situation.
I think like with every, or almost every, errant dog situation, it's about the owner of this dog. It's not really about the dog. The owner
yeah, but you
is-
said that last time, and then I think you kinda added, you just implied it wasn't, I'm sorry, when you described this latest situation,
The dog was barking aggressively according to the landowner
the adjoining landowner?
across the road.
I mean,
Dog
technically,
crosses
the
the
dog is
road.
not on its own property.
The dog
so-
was not on its own property and not under the control of its owner.
Right.
And
Is it
its
dog
owner is
licensed?
not willing, no. And the dog is not, the owner's not willing to do anything about it.
So I make a motion that on behalf of the select board, you write a letter to the station commander or whoever. We have a resident with an unlicensed dog who is continuously off its property, not under the control of the landowner, and does not appear to be willing to change his ways or, hold the dog. And the neighbor feels that that dog
Right.
is being.
The neighbor feels
aggressive.
threatened.
And aggressive, I think I heard you say too, right?
That's how it was described to me. I wasn't there, so
Right.
I can't attest to what aggressive means.
And I would say that it appears there's some hostility brewing between the two neighbors. Could you offer some guidance or pay a visit to them?
De-escalate it.
Yes.
And do we copy the owner, the owner of the dog?
Oh, he has.
Yeah, no, but I'm
Oh,
saying in this letter,
Anytime that I would, do something with the dog issue, I would copy the complainant,
okay,
the dog owner, and in this case, the property owner who's a different person, because it's a rental
okay.
Oh.
by a child, but it's still a rental.
I would, on behalf of the select board, send this to the state police. I would not copy all the parties.
Oh, I don't know.
We don't wanna escalate the situation.
See
until
what your answer is
See
from
what
the
they
state police.
say, yep. If you send it to all the parties, they're gonna, it's just gonna escalate any hostilities that are currently brewing. Is my thought, you guys can do what you want, but.
I do
I wonder if
know.
the tenant actually got the message from the letter that you sent last night.
Was that a registered letter to that guy?
No, but I delivered it, so I know it was delivered.
No, but we don't have a sign, you know it, but I'm thinking, those probably should be registered letters, right? Just so there's-
Certified.
Certified.
Mhm. I mean,
Simply so we got backup that, yeah, we sent this. You can't say, no, I never got that. You can say, testify, of course, that, yeah, I delivered it, it was on the mail week. But really
I've
happened.
never sent them certified before.
I think,
I don't know
I
if that's
can if
not,
you want.
well, I don't think that's a bad idea, because then it's proof we actually took some formal action,
All right?
just,
yeah, I kinda think that I'm not as close to this as Linda, but I think the issue is already escalated, so if we send a letter to state police and we copy them, we're kinda going to the next level, but,
Yeah,
You
no, I'm fine with it, that's just my
Yeah.
line of thinking,
yeah. Well,
so we're gonna try this one first, send one, try to get some response from the barracks in St. Albans, who's ever in command of it.
You want me to send them a letter or call them?
do it in writing, whatever it is, email or letter,
Okay?
just, in writing, your tracks covered.
I think it kinda helps the other person realize we're not just ignoring their issue.
Yeah.
Okay? And what would you like me to tell, the complainant?
And we're tell them we're gonna reach out to VSP and see if they'll provide any assistance in this matter. And
Or advice.
I also have a issue with a rental in East Fairfield. I got a call from the landlord today. He has what he calls a squatter from COVID that doesn't have a lease, that is collecting a large amount of garbage on their property. And he wants us to fix it. This is someone who's not, from the sounds of it, not paying rent, so absolutely couldn't afford to remove trash. He has started the process of eviction. When you go in the state statute on rental codes, the owner of every dwelling or rooming house is responsible for maintaining in a clean and sanitary condition, free of trash, recyclables, and food scraps, all common areas. And the occupant is responsible for maintaining clean sanitary condition in parts of premises that he or she exclusively occupies. It also says the owner shall assure that arrangements are made for removal of trash, recyclables, and food
something
scraps.
else on the top.
He doesn't have anything to do with trash removal. It sort of sounds, when I talked to him today, like he's just hoping that I'll help him get this person out, which is not my role. It doesn't really constitute a public health hazard because the home is isolated to itself. So people can live in any condition of squalor that they want, and since they don't have a lease and they don't pay
Thanks.
rent, it's tough to call it a rental. However, they are occupying with the knowledge of the landowner. So it's one of those tough ones.
So what's the goal here?
Well, I think the goal of the landlord is for me to go there, and he told me to go there, not to go alone. And he said, he just wants someone to go and force them to clean up their trash. So in other towns, when this sort of a situation has come up, and it has been a public health hazard, like if it was in the village or in close proximity to another home, the town has taken on the cost of cleaning up the trash. The town could force the landowner, the property owner, to clean up the trash, or we could just say, sorry, it's your deal because you're the landowner. So I need direction.
I don't believe we've ever gotten into this scenario,
That's bad.
Huh?
We never got into anything this bad, right?
We did, that house right across from, I don't remember who the owner of it was. I used to deliver food to them, I can't think of the name.
Quite added. East Fairfield towards Wicker Street?
Yeah, on the left, right on the corner there, that one that was falling down,
Yeah.
remember?
Mm-hmm.
That one. But we got into it there.
Oh, good. Yep.
I have a hard time doing very meetings, but I will take one after, for sure.
What we did then was get in touch with the landowner and tell him to do a cleanup, and he did. But it wasn't the same sort of situation, because it wasn't, I mean, this guy alleges that it's a COVID squatter. That the person he had the original lease with is no longer there, and this person is someone that was living with the person that he had the original lease with. And
So would that be another issue for the BSB?
no.
I mean, you're a squatter.
He's calling them a squatter, but he's initiated an eviction process, so he is acknowledging that they are tenants.
So, which is out of our realm, we don't need to discuss that.
I don't,
That's
that's
none of
not,
our-
it's,
So what is the end all, when this guy calls you, what is his solution that he wants us to go to?
he wants me to go and tell the person they have to remove their trash.
Do we have an ordinance saying they have to do this? There's no reason for us
There
to
is
go in
a
and say that.
state rental code, which I read you, that says the occupant is responsible for maintaining in a clean and sanitary condition free of trash any part of the premises which he exclusively occupies.
Would it be reasonable to write a letter, like, to the occupant?
I'm
Can that
sure
quoting-
I'm sure I could write a letter, but if the person is,
Well, let's not be presumptuous whether it's
You're
gonna be,
right.
but.
you're right, it's
State-
certainly, I could write a letter.
Well, let's start with that.
Well, first of all, I mean, who's saying it's squalor versus it's clean, and how are we?
Well, what I meant is just inform the occupant of the statute, with no observations, just the
I can do that.
Inform the occupant or offer it to the landlord and say, this is what the statute says.
Well, if it's sent to the occupant, it has to be copied to the landowner.
Yeah. I know,
Yeah,
because our neighbor up the road there, he's got two places. Took him 2 years to get one out, 3 dumpsters and a 4th dumpster later.
Yeah, but that's,
Right, I'm thinking this guy falls into a similar scenario, you know?
this is why I don't
This
enjoy
is
the
your-
select board,
It's
babysitting
the
other
same.
people's problems. This is
That's who it is, you know that.
ridiculous.
That's who it is.
John?
Yeah.
I assumed that's who, I wondered about it, because it's been quite a fight. And, one has left, and then this, the mobile home,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, that was a couple that rented it and then split up, and she kicked him out, she never left. It's a whole court thing, they're in court, it's been
Yes.
quite a process. I don't think there's much we're gonna be able to do there, I don't know how the other house worked out in the end, how John had to do all the cost of, cleanup, or no, I don't have a clue.
I have no idea, but you can't get blood from a stone, so.
Nope, and this one that's in there knows the whole system.
That was the impression I got when
Played it.
speaking with him
So
today.
let's not talk names or what they
Yeah.
know.
I
Let's
didn't.
stick- I know,
Yeah,
but.
but it's, I don't see there's a whole lot we can do in that scenario, but send, like I say, this one knows the whole system, knows who to get contact.
And you quoted the owner has an obligation per the statute.
The owner of any dwelling or rooming house shall assure that arrangements are made for the removal of trash, recyclables, and food scraps in accordance with the statute.
Yeah, so maybe, like, a letter that's, like, occupant, owner, copy both. Restate statute, I mean, like,
My stance is I wouldn't send a letter, just as long as that's in there that I don't want to be involved.
well, you're talking as the town public health officer, right?
Correct.
So I don't really want to write a letter either, but,
But whatever she does is our,
I don't have an option to not be involved. I received a complaint as the health
Yeah,
officer.
she has
to
I
address
have
it
to
some
address it.
way.
right, and that's what I'm,
but is there, sometimes doing nothing is the best way to do something. Is there something you can do to help rectify the situation?
So there's two ways you can go. One is you can ask the property occupant to clean the mess up. Or two, if you really think it's a public health hazard, which I haven't gone there, so I don't know. Is the second unit empty? Do you know?
The other one's unoccupied at this time.
Yeah, so it's not a public health hazard because there is no adjoining, like there's nothing close. If it was somebody close, that there was in fact a public health hazard, then the select board would issue an emergency health order, in fact, to the property owner to clean it up pronto with a deadline.
So
and
what
like
triggers that you have to do something?
If it is an emergency health, what triggers that I have to do something is that I was contacted by the property owner to ask for assistance. So when you get contacted, you have to respond in some way.
Right, you have to respond, not saying you have to send a letter to the, what, if I tell you that my wife's side of the bed is disgusting, that's a
That does not
complaint to you.
constitute a public health hazard, so it's
Right,
not my
but
business.
so neither does this in this case, correct? I'm just trying to see what's the trigger?
Well, I think part of it is if there were enough rodents around because of the trash scenario, that would trigger something.
So that's sort of where it goes, like what is the trash and how much trash is there? And I haven't gone to look, I just can.
So I guess
You know?
my thought is, what triggers it? Somebody made a complaint, yep. You should look at it and say, this either triggers what's something within our scope of work, or it doesn't. This could just be Ron, the landlord, who doesn't like Tom, the tenant, and just, here, get somebody else in here and help me push them out. So I just wanna make sure we're not just,
In this scenario, I can tell you, just from what I know, this is just non-payment for 2 weeks.
right.
So because there are no nearby homes, the public health hazard is non-existent. It is a private health hazard to the people who live there. They're, like, if it was located here, then it would be a public health hazard because it's in the
Right,
village.
but that's what I'm
But
saying.
there, it doesn't really constitute a
What
public
triggers
health hazard.
action by the select board and the town health officer is a public health hazard, correct?
Yes, it is a fine line if there is a actual
Well, what about
public health
this?
hazard.
To be sensitive to Dave's concern, why don't you take a look at it in your capacity and at the next board meeting, if you recommend us to, like, if it is
So I can't-
over that line of public health?
It can't wait that long. I'm supposed to react within 48 hours.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Well, that's
can-
what I'm saying, I
So
don't want
can't
a
wait till
reaction.
another meeting. I can go look, but I can't, if.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Go
if
take a
it-
look, and then if you
in
think
fact
it's
it
over
is
the
an
line,
issue,
pardon?
then if it is in fact an issue,
Right.
then it has to be acted upon within 48 hours.
You could have an emergency board meeting if you found that it was some egregious scenario.
Mhm.
Or a phone conference.
Yeah, something of that nature to get.
Well, here, I'll tell you what. How
But
about
you
this?
can't go alone.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking, same thing.
And if it's a private health hazard, then you can say this doesn't constitute a public health hazard to the complainant and state that.
So that was my initial reaction, because when I looked at it, like just on Google, there's no close homes. So to me, it does not constitute a public health hazard. People are allowed to live in their own squalor. That's what happened with that house across from, on the corner there in East Fairfield. I can't tell people how to live their lives.
So your action could be to state that this is not constitute a public health hazard.
It could,
Because that's the point. I'm
Okay,
getting to.
okay. Yeah, well, it sounds sad, but it's,
Yeah.
it sounds technically,
It's part of the reason why there's a lack of affordable housing in the state of Vermont, because the landlord has limited rights compared to the tenants. So that's why if you're investing money, you don't tend to invest in low-income housing.
Mm-hmm.
Any other excitement, Melissa? Now that we've run you through the ringer and around, have a cupcake.
I already have them, thank you.
Have to.
No, thank you, one's good. I don't have anything.
Is there any other business we want to conduct before this meeting adjourns?
I'd like to go to a quick,
Oh, did someone make a motion to accept the warrants?
I make a motion to accept the warrants.
Somebody second that? All in favor? Aye.
Do the minutes.
We've done the minutes already.
can we do a 2-minute executive session for personnel real quick?
Sure.
It'll be less than 2 minutes.
Yep, we'll go into executive session and then we'll adjourn after that.
Perfect.
So a motion was made to go into executive session and came out. Dave, did you address it?
Just ongoing personnel.
Personnel, nothing
Just
resolved, just
discussion,
information on
Nothing but
it. Yep, so I guess we'll, after, someone make a motion to
I
adjourn.
make a motion, we adjourn?
Second it?
Second.
So off you go.